Hello everyone, my name is Al Person. You can contact me at pastor@mascot.church, which is my email address, or in the comments below if you like. This is another live recording, but it's not live streamed. I'm just recording it live in front of God's people because I was really not in the best place to do that yesterday, and I didn't want Father's Day to pass without doing that. Today our theme has been the themes of transcendence and immanence. And that is that God is transcendent above creation. He reveals himself in two ways, transcendent and immanent. When we think of these two words, we think of other words that we can use to describe God in this respect. Sometimes we say that God is totally other. Otherness is a quality of God. That is, that he is beyond us in every respect, totally infinite. Another phrase we might use, we talked about divine simplicity or these sorts of qualities. God is distant when he's transcendent, or his transcendence is distant. We see that in Genesis chapter 1, where the opening creation account, God is not named. He's the Lord. He's God. He's Elohim, kind of distant, transcendent. We see it in the creation story of man, where it's just slightly changed. It's told in a different perspective, and all of a sudden he's named the Lord God. We see that immanence. We see it in Psalm 19. The heavens declare the glory of God, transcendent, but then the law of the Lord is perfect. He's named. You see these two sort of extremes. The best example that I have, that I use when you talk about transcendence and immanence, is the baby in the womb. The baby in the womb. To the baby in the womb, the father is transcendent, greater than the baby in every way, but not connected to the baby directly. The baby needs revelation to understand the father is there, and it's not going to happen until after the baby's born. But the mother is immanent, close, immanent to the child, as close as can possibly be, right? So you have this transcendence, immanence. So we're going to follow this along. This is Father's Day. Well, you better get this into a Father's Day topic, Al, and let's see how we go. A man needs the balance of two qualities. He needs strength and warmth. Strength and warmth, okay? So these two. Now, oftentimes people who study the development, especially of boys, realize that if the father is that a father needs to have both these things. A father might be too strong, and then sometimes an uncle or a grandfather or that comes along and provides warmth for the boy. Or the father might be too warm, and then an uncle or a grandfather or a boss comes along and provides strength for the boy. So these two things have to be in balance. And so fathers, dads, fathers-to-be, grandfathers-to-be, there's two qualities in balance. So what do we get out of strength and warmth? What are these two, or how can we break them down? Things that accompany strength might be competence, dedication, self-control. Competence, dedication, self-control. So a strong man is competent, he's also dedicated, but he's got self-control. This is really interesting here. If you see, there are many strong men who've got, for example, hot tempers. Maybe they appear strong, physically strong, or maybe strong in whatever. But biblically, I don't think they're very strong. No self-control. Okay, so can you sort of understand that? So we're talking about a different, more of a different model here. So these things, though, are strength. A man who's strong. So come again. Strength, yes, physical strength is great. Emotional strength is great. Spiritual strength is great. Self-control is part of that. So let's just put some words here and let's associate these things. Strength and warmth. One more time, our three words that I used here. Strong man is competent, he's dedicated, he has self-control. Strength. What about the other side? What about warmth? Qualities of man that demonstrate warmth. Well, I've got some help from this with some of my friends, but two words that we might associate with those two might be thoughtfulness and kindness. Okay, so a man needs to be all of those and all of those together. Is everybody with me? Got a couple of head nods. Makes good sense. Let's push this a little bit farther. A man who is less warm and more strong might be harsh and demanding. How's that? A man who is less warm and more strong might be harsh and demanding. A man who is less strong and more warm might be soft or even sickly sweet. So think about men in your life. You can see this. Sometimes guys aren't strong. They're very, very nice. He's a really nice guy, but he's just warm, but he's not strong. How am I going so far? Okay, so let's just rerun this again here. Lots of contrast in today's message. A man who is less warm, who's less warm and more strong might be harsh and demanding, even to the point of being cruel or mean. A man who is less strong and more warm might be soft and sickly sweet. So somewhere there has to be a balance, somewhere there has to be a match. Now I'll be talking more about warmth today, but I have to say there's a crisis of strength in our society. A lot of weak people around, a lot of weak men around. I just, I saw a comment yesterday about an article where some vast number, Gen Z children, we're the last of the baby boomers here, I am, or the youngest of the baby boomers, but Gen Z children, a significant number of them are having their parents come with them to job interviews. Yeah, I know. It's like, are you seeing that in the real world? It's like, so in other words, I've got my sweet, fragile little boy, right, or girl, but it happens, just imagine this, right? And he's got a job interview, and mommy's got to come along to be sure that everything is all right, Now, that wouldn't have happened in my day. That would be a guarantee that you wouldn't get the job, right? But there's obviously a crisis in weakness. It's because many, many young people today, or even mature men, have never driven a nail in their entire lives. Think about that. Think about that. I had a really beautiful, lovely guy, a friend of mine years ago, smart, much smarter than me, he said, Al, I need to put a shelf up in my place. I said, yeah, no problem. He said, I need to get one of these. Excuse me. You need to put a shelf up and you need to get one of these. I said, do you mean a drill? Oh, yeah, one of those. I said, don't. Get help, right? Don't go buying a drill at the hardware store and then go and think the shelf is going to stay up, right? You might drill into live wires, into water pipes, into whatever, put it up there, put your TV on it, crash, it comes down because it's not. But, that's okay in our, not okay, but in our world, an increasingly lesser amount of people have had to deal with physical things, and that's not a good thing. A famous commentator, I think her name is Melissa Chen, I think she was raised in communist China, she's now in the West, talks about wokeness. This whole, wokeness, everybody's stuff, which is thankfully on the way out. But she said, you'll never be woke if you have to build something. Right. The moment ever you have to go out into the forest and chop down a tree and build a house or whatever and force something to do what into your mold, you immediately realize that you can't change things by complaining. But it's common to want to change things by complaining. Now everybody's the victim. So there's a crisis. I heard another one. Oh, dear Lord, this one is just terrible. Two more. There's a trend towards what's called the son husband. Heard about the son husband? In fatherless homes, and we're seeing it all over, the oldest son is kind of treated like a hubby by the mother, right? And they have this kind of connection that is it's just not right. Like they'll sit there, just think for a minute, you're the oldest son, or one of the sons, sometimes it's the youngest son, where the mother kind of sits there eating popcorn, at night watching a chick flick with her boy leaning. That's fine once in a while. But when these men get married, they have a higher connection to their mother than to their wife. See, this is the thing going on. But I heard about an even worse trend. This one's worse. Look this up when you get home. Boy moms. Oh, dear Lord. Have you heard of boy moms? It is the worst thing going on, where mothers are more interested in, just look it up. But all of these things are signs of a crisis in masculinity, and a crisis and a lack of strength. So that's definitely the case. We need to realize that. Okay, this is the case here. Now the other side of this, though, is that strong men who've had to resist. A lot of us resisted things that we didn't like over the last few years. Tend to be very, very strong, but often on the other side lack warmth. Because everything was about their resistance. Everything was about the thing they were fighting against, everything, whether it's for rights or whether it's for this or whether it's for that. So there's a need to just cultivate warmth, and you'll understand this, I hope, by the grace of God as the message goes on. So contrarians, that is, men who've got to stand against something, tend to be very, very strong. Now, having said that, it would be fair to say, I want to get a little bit out of order here, it would be fair to say that, from my observation, that if a woman had a choice of a man who was either a bit too strong or a bit too warm, in a time of crisis, she would prefer a man who was a bit too strong, because he will protect her and care for her. Okay? So strength is probably slightly more desirable, but in the time when the crisis fades, he's always trying to, be what men can be sometimes. Probably she wants a little more warmth. So I think probably erring on the side of strength is more than likely what we're after. Now, the difference between, as I understand it, an old man who's read about this topic for many years, between the masculine and the feminine, there's many differences, but let me give you this one. The masculine wants to bring order into a chaotic world. Think for a moment. You want to chop down trees and build houses. You want to tear apart mountaintops and build tunnels. You want to form metal into machinery so that it washes the clothes. You want to do that, bringing order into a chaotic world. We thrive on that. We men enjoy bringing order into a chaotic world. What about the feminine? There are women who like that, by the way. There are women, and great to be around them and to work with them. I enjoy that immensely. But in the majority, women prefer to fill an ordered world. Can you see what's going on here? The masculine likes to bring order into a chaotic world. Women like to fill an ordered world. Let me help you with this. I was talking to at the Motorfest last week. We were sitting around the table with a bunch of good old boys, and grease under their fingernails, car racing types. It was a good time, really good time. I was on the table with the Tirana guys. It was a hoot, and we were talking, and this very conversation came up, and I didn't bring it up. Well, I might have led into it, but the good old boy across the table with me, and his son was sitting next to me, said, all a man needs, a man will chop down trees and build a house and whatever, it's just give me a place that's warm, give me a place the rain doesn't fall on me, and stick a place for me to sleep in the corner, and I don't need anything else. I have brought order into a chaotic world. That's it. I'm protected. I'm cared for. But then, when a woman comes along, she takes that chaotic world, and she fills it. And she fills it with richness, and she fills it with beauty, and she fills it with joy. You can sort of see the difference? My flat run living now is degrading, Brother Barry, into an ordered but not very filled world. It's like, I don't need that. Stick it in a corner. Haven't used it. Guess what I've done in the beautiful world that Annette left me? My office is in the dining room table. Cables everywhere, like that, sitting, clicking away, multiple screens, all that sort of stuff, right? Because Annette left me a filled, ordered world. I've gone back to chaos. It's like, Lauren comes here thinking, oh, dear Lord. Ugh, right? And my world would be even better if I could do something else. It's an apartment. If I could bring the hose in from outside and just wash the bathroom that way. You know what I'm talking about. All I basically need is an ordered world, whereas Annette would fill an ordered world, right? We call it the woman's touch, all right? So back to strength and warmth, okay? Back to strength and warmth. As I've thought about this topic a lot, I've thought a little bit about how to help us understand it. I think men know if they're not strong enough, and I think by being around men, you learn how to be strong. Men need to be around men, and you get stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's a thing. That's a thing that's a bit of a problem again in our society, even our church. Our churches don't have a chance to work around other men. And it's interesting watching how men behave in groups. In groups, men tend to speak very harshly to one another. Have you ever noticed that? Like, wow, right? I won't be vulgar today because it's public and going on the internet, but, Barry or Rod or Jose can say to me, you're being an idiot, stop it now. Right? Yes, no drama at all. It doesn't work male to female. That doesn't. sort of work very well. But strength is developed, and men working together build on each other's strengths, and that's all fine. But what about warmth? What about warmth? I think I can try to end this message with a picture, and maybe this can help. First of all, strength is necessary when the world is chaotic. When the world's chaotic, we lean on the strength of the strongest around us. In fact, with men, it's very interesting because in a group of men, the men even learn how to lean on the stronger men. It's very, very interesting. You get 10 men in a group, and there's some crisis, we have an ability to pick who's the strongest one, who's the leader. And if not, there might be a fight or whatever. But typically, it's amazing how well that works. You know, we can determine that. When there's a need for strength, chaos provides a need for strength. When there's trouble, all right? Who's going to kill the rat that climbed out of the toilet? I'll get your sister to do it. No! All right? When there's a crisis. And that's good. The thing is that the crisis comes to a place where it starts to ease in our lives. In a marriage, you see this often. The crisis starts to ease in your life. It starts to ease a little bit. That's the time when a man needs to learn to put down his strength and pick up some warmth. How am I going? He needs to be less strong and more warm. For a man who is not so warm, I've tried very hard to try to come up with a picture that works here, and let me give you this. Imagine now you're just all alone, for example. There's no one else in your life, but it's a cold, bitter time outside. Thankfully, it's warming up. It's beautiful here today in Sydney. But it's cold, and work has been hard, and it's just miserable, and it's difficult, and you're tired, and you're exhausted. And you get home, and you prepare yourself some food, and you eat, and so on, and you light a fire in the fireplace. And the room is kind of dimly lit, and you're sitting there, maybe with just a drink at night, a cup of tea or something, just watching the fire. Just watching the fire. Just enjoying the warmth of the fire. And the fire doesn't talk to you very much, it just crackles occasionally to say, I'm here. And in that place, that warmth, that thing that we all know about, everybody here knows what that's like. That's a quality that men need to learn to develop. That's the warmth side of things. Many times you've seen this same thing happen where warmth is not developed or strength is not developed or whatever, and you see that sort of imbalance. Okay, I don't have a lot more to say about this topic today, except to go back to our transcendence and our immanence for a moment and see if we can bring this to a bit of a theological end. Right? God is revealed as ultimately strong in creation, above time, above space, above everything. King of kings and Lord of lords. We see it in Genesis, we see it in the Psalms, we see it all the way through Scripture. Transcendent, absolute, completely without measure. We even use words like otherness to describe him. You know, our language fails so badly that these qualities of God, we don't even have words for them. We don't say that God is present everywhere. We could, but we say he's omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, right? Omni. He's absolutely. So this sense of God. Can he be known? Yes. But not only is he transcendent, he reveals himself, and that's that warmth, that strong thing. He reveals himself with warmth, right? He reveals himself infinitely close. The Bible uses this language, closer than a brother. Closer than a brother. In the fruits of the Spirit list in Galatians chapter 5, you can see this. You can see this very thing here. You see that there are fruits that speak of warmth. Fruits like patience, love, joy, peace. It's that wonderful thing. As I close today, let me just talk a little moment about those fruits that we see in Galatians chapter 5. The best I've ever heard about that is that the fruits of the Spirit, Galatians 5:22 and on, you can read it, that the fruits of the Spirit are designed for the weary traveler. The fruits of the Spirit are designed for the weary traveler. The warmth that you have is designed for the weary traveler. Just imagine that day where you are just in total turmoil and life is just difficult and it's just hard, and my favorite phrase is it's like wading through treacle. You know, it's just everything is just nasty and it's hard. And no one's been nice to you. You're not even nice to yourself. But you know that there's somebody that you can spend time with who has the beautiful fruit of patience and peace. And it's like you come alongside them and you say, I haven't experienced much patience today. No one's been patient with me. That's makrothumia, that's long-suffering. I haven't got very much peace today, but when I'm around you, I'm drawing on your patience and on your peace. It's like the fruit that you consume as a weary traveler. Gentlemen, develop strength and develop warmth. God bless you. My name is Al Person. Come back again soon. I hope you enjoyed today's message.